Haley, Ramey and Haley, law firm here in Indianapolis. Mary Beth and I are the partners in Ramey and Haley. I spell my last name Hailey.
And my name is Carl Williams, Williams.
And the Carl is spelled with a C?
Say correct.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to clarify any points that were in our press release. We're assuming that you have copies. Ramey and Haley has been retained to represent the Williams family. As you know, this is connected with the police action shooting that occurred in Indianapolis on the early morning hours of August the 23rd at approximately 4:30 p.m. What I suggest we do is, I'm assuming you know basic facts. Everything is very preliminary. Our client's just been released from the hospital. We are thrilled that he could be here. Thought that he would not be able to be here. But what we're going to do is go ahead and allow you, if you'd like, to ask questions. If there's anything we feel is not appropriate for us to answer at this time, we'll indicate it. But otherwise, you should assume it's pretty open as far as the questions that you ask.
Can you describe the extent of his injuries that he received from the shooting?
Yes, and to clarify a point, he's received a serious injury, we believe, from a police-issued firearm. We believe that he has been hit in the upper groin. It's been mistakenly reported that it was his stomach. Thankfully, it was not. It's in the upper groin. The bullet fragments remain. There's no exit wound. It traveled through him and into the area of the femur where the ball joint is for your hip. And that injury is the entry wound is all that's present. There is no exit wound. The bullet did not exit. His recuperation is highlighted primarily by a lot of pain right now. They're going to have to do some future evaluation. His medical record indicates that they will continue to evaluate the surgical option, trying to make a decision as to how stable the fragments are and make a decision on whether he should be operated on. So currently he's scheduled for follow-up medical treatment. Once his pain tolerance is in a more acceptable range, he'll be reevaluated, and at that point he will they'll answer again the surgical option, or he'll go right to physical rehabilitation.
But he still has bullet fragments in his body?
Yes.
Were they able to remove any of the other fragments? Or?
It appears that, and we'll have to wait for Indianapolis Metropolitan Police to confirm to us exactly the nature of the weapon. We've made some guesses about it. We think we know what the weapon was, but depending on that, it would appear that these fragments probably constitute the entire remnants of the bullet.
During the 911 call, there was a portion where Mr. Williams, right before hanging up, said, "Is that him?" Do we know if he was talking about the suspect or the police that he had called for help?
Yeah, there seems to have been some movement right at the time of when you hear that, "Is that him?" There was some movement outside of his house, but he, and so that was a question as to whether that was an actual person. We're not sure at this time.
Can Mr. Williams tell us the last things he remembers about that morning?
Yes. Mr. Williams?
I'm not sure what you want me to say. Only thing I can remember is intense pain, falling on the ground, and telling the police officers, "I am the homeowner. Why did you shoot me?"
Before that, when you were entering the garage, opening the door, tell us what led up to that time before you were shot.
My wife had come into the house screaming, "Honey, honey, someone tried to hurt me." They put a gun to my head and demanded our car. Honey, help me. I did like any person would do. You protect your family, you protect your wife, you protect your property. I ran to her aid. I wanted to find out if she was hurt. That's first and foremost. When I made that 911 call, I expected the police to come help us. I didn't want to take justice in my own hand. That's the wrong thing to do. That's the police's job. That's what we paid them for.
Did you have a gun in your hand?
My gun was at my side. I had it right at my side in my hand. Yes.
Did you, Mr. Williams, did you ever hear police say, "This is the police, stop"? Did you hear any commands like that?
No, it doesn't appear that there were any, according to the police investigation.
At what point, Mr. Williams, did you know police was there? Did you know before the shooting, or?
I knew the police were there after I got shot by them. After I had about 3 million spotlights in my face.
Just to be clear, sir, you didn't hear the officers say, "Stop, breathe, drop your weapon," anything like that?
I believe my attorney already answered that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem from the police investigation that there was any warning at all. And that's consistent with the statement. By the way, he has given a statement to the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police. And in that statement, he indicates, and there seems to be some agreement on that, that there wasn't any identification. This was there was more than one police officer in the area at that time, and one of them discharged his gun at least twice, and one of them did not.
Mr. Williams, what do you have to say to the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department?
You know, I think that that's one that, because so far he has given them a statement, and I think in his prepared statement, the press release that I gave you, those all are not just lawyer words. Those are words from this man and his family. And if you recall, those are, he's uniquely qualified to understand the difficult job that police officers do every day, and we respect that. But he's also uniquely qualified to understand training, caution, and procedures, as he was a military police officer himself, as you probably know, for 8 years. So that's pretty much the sentiment. And we just wanted to have a press conference just to update you on these investigations are in pretty preliminary stages, both of them. Police are a little further along, probably.
Mr. Williams, right now, that 14-year-old, that teenager who attacked your wife is still out there. What are your words to him about what he's done to your family and that this incident turning your life upside down? Anything at all?
Simple. You're going to get caught. My life is in turmoil because they did the wrong thing.
How's the community responding around you where you come from, where you live at?
Telling the story, we had an interesting story today that exemplifies how good Indianapolis can be.
I am overwhelmed with the love and support of my community. Normally, I'm a I'm a private person. I go to work, school, and I really don't bother anyone. I just want to live my life with my family, enjoy our time together. One neighbor in particular, yesterday, again, I don't speak to anyone. He came over and brought flowers for my wife and brought me a gift card out of the blue. I mean, I try to treat everyone with the same respect that I would want. And for this man to come over and do that, my other neighbors, Carl, do you need anything? Can we get you lunch? Let's take you to this. We'll bring this to you. If you need anything, please let me know. Everyone the outpouring of love and support is just phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't ask for better friends and or neighbors.
Mr. Williams, would you call the police again if you needed
That's a loaded question, but yes, I'm not going to let the actions or inaction of one individual try to taint the whole police department.
Sir, did you ever remove your gun from your side, or did you have it in a holster, or did you have it in your hand? Did the gun ever get pointed in the direction of the officer that might have given him any cause for alarm?
No, sir, as I've said, my pistol was in my hand at my side.
And that's consistent with everything that's coming from both investigations and statements that have been taken. I think it was, the facts are that the gun was in a safe position at the side where it's supposed to be. You know, the first rule of guns is all guns are loaded until you know otherwise. The second one is you don't point guns that you don't intend to shoot. So it was with that spirit, and again, he's in a unique position to know the rules, but Mr. Thomas?
I just wanted to ask, he is going to have a number of medical bills. Has the city reached out to say they would be taking care of those? Will you have to file a tort claim? What's the next legal step that goes forward?
I think that my partner, Mary Beth Ramey, and I have, obviously, we're still doing facts and interviews also, but just looking at it from altitude, I think that the next steps will be is to complete the neighborhood survey and interviews, make sure we get a good handle on the medicals involved in this, which may take some time, and then engage in a constructive conversation with the city of Indianapolis and give them, I think our job is to supply them with more information about our client's situation, and tort claims, that could be, but not necessarily a part of the future of this issue. Let's just wait and see.
Would you
Mr.
think the
Williams, as
city
you
is
sit here
responsible?
right now, can you tell us how you're feeling right now, sir?
I'm conflicted. Obviously, I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want to put anyone in a bad light. I mean, the police have a very tough job. We all know this. But I guess I'm torn, because before you pick up any firearm and point it at someone, you have to be sure that what you're going to hit or what you're firing at.
Mr. Thomas?
I just wanted,
Sure.
obviously, he's got some long-term bills to pay. You hinted earlier that there could be a tort claim. What's the next step? Are there time limits to file these things?
Well, there is a time limit in Indiana to file a tort claim. It's approximately 200 days. We generally file them in 180. But again, we think that preliminarily, do we feel we see enough information in the common facts that are coming out? When I say common, I mean those from both the police investigation that have been made public and our own. Yes, we see enough to conclude that the city may have responsibility in this situation. But I don't want to jump ahead and say that we'll file a tort claims notice prematurely. I think that when we file the tort claims notice and circulate it, that'll be a public document, which you all will have a right to. And it'll be very specific, and it won't be just based on a shoot from the hip, no pun intended, examination of the facts. That's why tort claims notices you have so much time, so that no one has to rush in with half the facts and file. And again, if your conversations are constructive, you may not have to file one at all.
And the ballpark figure for what it will cost for this, him to get well?
We have absolutely no idea.
Attorney, can you Attorney Haley?
Yes.
Maybe for both of you, the question is, we have two victims here. We have my brother Williams there, but the wife. What is her state of consciousness, and how is this reflected in regard to your concern about the wife? She was the first victim of it, I think, right?
That is correct.
And she still is a victim in regard to you becoming victimized, am I right?
That is correct.
Let me speak to your question, because I've had a little time to be around Sonia Williams is her name. She is, as you know from the press release, they've been married. They had just celebrated their 25th anniversary.
How do you spell her name?
How does she spell her Sonia?
Sonia.
Because I misspelled it in the press release. But, you know, she is a very private person and very traumatized. When I first interviewed her, it's hard for her to give you facts without being very tearful. She's full-time working mom and also assisting with a grandchild. And they're just salt of the earth, good people, and she is very upset at seeing, not just in the same evening, she actually was accosted by an armed man and then watched her husband get shot in her driveway. So that evening, that less than 72 hours ago. So she is just not ready to be public, and she is very traumatized. Hopefully, Ms. Ramey, my partner, will be able to help me with her.
Mr. Williams, IMPD stated that this was a mistake. How do you feel about their statement on the situation?
I can't speak to the way they put stuff out. I can't speak to that.
I think that everything that, from our perspective, everything that we've seen so far would indicate that they obviously have a big problem predicated upon a complete error. So if you mean mistake to mean an error in judgment, accentuated by perhaps either not complying with training rules or not being well trained to begin with, if that's what you mean by mistake, then that probably is what we hold in common. We probably are both, police and us, looking at the same information.
It's important to note that our investigation is ongoing right now, too. So this happened early this week, and so we are still interviewing and attempting to gather information ourselves.
I wonder if he could help me with a couple of details. There was a report made to the police, I think based on his wife's observation, that the robber had a red shirt on or something like that. Could you maybe discuss what you were wearing, if in any way that might have confused the officer, if you had on red yourself, or what were you wearing, sir?
Man,
Yeah.
well, my wife is not the one you hear on the 911 call. You heard me. I stated that the young man had on a red shirt with a long gun. Now, I don't know what anybody else, that either means a shotgun or a rifle. I had on a black Atlanta CNN shirt, a pair of blue jeans, and a handgun in my right hand.
Any other questions?
And did you see the robber yourself, or was this you retailing what the wife had seen?
I did not see the robber myself.
But your intent when you went outside was you thought the robber was up. That's why you went outside with the gun, right?
Well, to answer your question honestly, when the robber had the car keys have access into the garage. And when I asked the question, is that him? I was speaking to my wife, not the 911 dispatcher.
Mr. Williams, how do you feel to be able to be alive to tell your story?
I can sum that up in 2 words. But my pastor, he always says all the same thing. But God.
Yeah, we think that these parties were, and remember, at the time this happens, he's illuminated. In other words, there's a garage door opener that has a light. There's a garage, the interior of the garage has a light. And outside the garage, there is a motion-activated light. So he's lit up as well as we are in front of you almost right now.
So there's light in the garage and
Yeah,
outside the
so,
garage?
yeah,
Correct.
so he can be seen. There's no light, he's looking into the abyss in front of it, but he can be seen. And so he's standing in his garage and comes from his garage. So that's the setting. And we believe that there'll be a lot of agreement over that. The physical, not much of the physical facts here are going to be disputed. And that's why we would ask that everyone just take a deep breath and let this thing sort of percolate, because I think that you'll come up in the follow-up, I think you'll have two investigations that are extremely similar.
Mr. Williams, could you talk about your neighborhood? Have you ever felt unsafe in your neighborhood? And a second question, is this your first encounter with police? Have you ever had an encounter with police?
No, I've never felt unsafe in my neighborhood. Granted, every neighborhood has their own little issues. We have ours too. Second part of your question again, sir?
You ever had an encounter with police prior to this? Good, bad, indifferent?
We're a family neighborhood. We usually wave hello to the places they drive by. We don't shoot police officers. We don't do anything like that. We're law-abiding citizens.
Sir, how far did you get out of your garage before you were shot? Did you get to step out at all?
In my garage, there's a little lip for the garage door opener and the garage proper. I think I maybe had half of my foot over the edge, maybe a step. I really can give you a definitive answer.
So you were still in the garage, essentially?
Technically, yes.
Except for half of your foot?
Yes, sir.
And black shirt and blue jeans?
Black shirt, blue jeans.
Did your wife come to your aid after the shooting? What was the scene after the shooting? I know that you can hear the officer asking for medics, and I'm trying to find out exactly, did your wife come to your aid? Did she tell the officer, you shot my husband?
When you see your husband get shot before your very eyes, the normal reaction is to scream, "Oh my God, my husband. Why did you shoot my husband? Why?" Then what I heard, the police officers, "Stay there, ma'am. Don't come any further. Stay there, ma'am."
And again, there won't be much disagreement probably about the physical facts. We're just very thankful that he didn't shoot her too, because she's standing in the garage, and there's more than one shot. We're not sure how many more than two, but there are two. And we believe that the two came from the same weapon in the hands of the same officer, we believe. But again, the Metropolitan Police Department's in a great position to, and I'm sure they've already done the forensic on all the weapons. They know how many shots were fired, and they know whose weapon it came from. We believe it was one officer that shot. None of the other officers involved pointed or shot at Mr. Williams. But with relationship to the wife, remember, she's in the garage also at this point behind him. And we're just very, very fortunate. It's very fortunate that he didn't shoot her while in the process.
And why do you think there were two shots fired?
Because Mr. Williams, and when he gave his statement to the police, and his recollection today too, he audibly heard two shots himself. But there could have been more. And again, that's something we'll have to work in cooperation with the police on how many weapons were fired. We believe only one weapon was fired.
Did doctors, have they given you a prognosis, how long will you be in a wheelchair? Will you be as good as new,
Yeah. I looked at his medical records in the hospital, actually, and it's a little vague right now. I think all that's going to clear up pretty quickly. We'll know. Because when you leave, it's a judgment call with leaving a bullet in somebody. So depending on the stability issues and how he gets around and what he does in rehab, that'll probably answer your question. I think that everyone in another month or so will be in a better position to evaluate his injuries. I will say there's no spinal injury here. He is as far as we know, his spinal is intact. He's not paralyzed. He cannot walk very well, but it's not because he was period. He received a very serious injury, a very serious wound, but I think we'll know soon how serious.
Should he be at home resting now?
No, you probably should be.
You know me.
Sir, one question has arisen about, he called 911, police were on their way, yet he went outside with his gun. Was there, do you think that was if you had to do over again, you would have done that, or?
That one I'll take, because that's, that gets up, it really gets into lawyer land. The fact of the matter is, we live in a country, and we hear about it all the time on the TV. You know, the NRA has made it very well known that the best way to keep America safe is how? What's the best way? What's the narrative out there? For all of us to have more what? More baseball bats or more guns? We have the Heller case, Supreme Court case, dealing with Washington, D.C. statute, clearly indicated a few years ago, the Supreme Court of the United States has spoken on this issue once, clearly indicated that you can't pass laws to keep people from possessing firearms where? In their home. So that is the status of the law in that area. And while I may have a lot of personal beliefs that on this thesis that the way to be safe is to make sure all of us have guns, that is the law of our land, that you have a right to have a firearm in your house and not get shot in your driveway or your garage.
Well, I guess
So that'll go to the critical training liability issues involved in the case, and so I probably am the best one to answer that.
You made mention of your own investigation. Will that include actually going to the house that time of morning
Yeah.
to be able to judge the darkness, what he would see, what the officer would see, et cetera, et cetera?
Actually, it involves just that. From the National Weather Bureau, we have to wait for an analogous night. And you know, right now, we have a lot of turnover in our weather, as you can see, what it did earlier this morning and what it's doing now. So we have to wait till we get a 4:30 time slot. We hope we can do that quickly, because our season is going to progress very rapidly, and we're losing sunlight right now. But we believe we have some idea what it looks like at 4:30 in front of that house with that illumination. And then it's just canvassing neighbors. Unfortunately, it's 4:30, everybody is asleep, except Mr. Thomas. He probably gets up at 4 and is working, but the rest of us are still asleep. And we think we've gotten that part pretty much under control.
So I just want to be clear on why he left the house after calling
Yeah.
911. Can you just be possible on that?
No, because that feeds into the what I call the NRA counter narrative of, well, yes, we should have all these guns, but if you use one of them standing in your garage to protect your home, you somehow are feeding into your own situation if you get hurt. That is a narrative that I'm going to tell you right now we reject. I don't think that is involved in this case. I think that our client, like others of us who have guns, we're responsible gun owners. Our guns are legally possessed and legally purchased and encouraged by our Supreme Court and certain political candidates and everybody else is pushing more guns. So it's our position that at all times involved in this case, he is lawfully in possession. He is in his home with his firearm that he did not raise against anyone. He was looking into a black abyss.
If I could quote the police officer that addressed the media on Tuesday after this happened, he was asked, what would you tell other homeowners to do in this situation? He said, anytime you have a responsible gun owner and you have a homeowner that's doing their best to protect their property like today, we obviously would caution them to introduce another gun into an already potentially armed situation. If you call 911 and you know officers are on the way, clearly we have guns, and the last thing we want to do is sound like shoot illegally owned homeowner. But he would encourage people to stay on 911 and give as many updates as they can. Do you have any thoughts in relation to this line of questioning?
I think that I think that and by the way, I did not attribute that statement to the officer that was involved in the shooting. I attributed that to a supervisor who's part of the investigation. So I have a difficult time answering your question because you've attributed to the wrong individual. You attributed to an individual that was there, and I believe that statement was made by an individual that was not there.
No, I said this was from the spokesman at the.
Yeah, it was the spokesman.
Bristol.
Yeah, you said the officer
Regardless of who it
involved.
was, what do you think
Okay.
was said?
What I think is that what we need to do is not, this sounds like a tired cliche, but not litigate a case in the public. That's why I'm saying everybody needs to take a breath. And shoulda, woulda, coulda. The facts are the facts of what happened that evening. You've got different levels of training and experience involved, but everyone is acting in their particular job. And I think the ultimate question will be, the ultimate question to be is there responsibility? We feel there is. And there may be a differing view and different views. That's why they build all those courthouses downtown, so that people can